in case all your questions are not answered, or you figure people are going to, or they seem to be forcing some answers, that's pretty well it. The creation of the world is described in 2 chapters. God tells us twice about the creation of the world, the creation of Adam and Eve. When I assign my students with 1-page papers, I like 1-page papers. And, well, I can't possibly write on that in only 1 page. I tell them that God described the creation of the world twice on the equivalent of about 1.5 pages. You ought to be able to manage to talk about the significance of Julius Caesar in a page. The Bible is very succinct. It has a bit of poetical form, and we want to be careful not to become clearer than the Bible. I think many times we just need to have the complete answer, or we need to give the complete answer, and we ought to say, I don't know. We should never be clearer than the Bible on any teaching sheet. And there are times when the Bible is not clear. The Bible apparently doesn't think it's necessary for us to know the answer to certain things. But what we have is very clearly, in the beginning, God created the heaven and earth. And very clearly, he created Adam and Eve as a special creation, different than every other life form. Wow. The third thing that happens is terrible. That is, they rebel against their Creator. They fall into sin. They are separated from the Creator because of their own rebellion. And everything else in the first 11 chapters of Genesis is a mess. Adam and Eve rebel. They've listened to Satan. You can be like God, knowing good and evil. You can determine what's right and wrong. You can do it. You don't have to have God telling you what's right and wrong. You can handle that. And so Adam and Eve fall into sin. And immediately Cain and Abel. And it seems as if the disease of sin has spread to the family. Then you get a funny little thing. We get a genealogy. These genealogies are interesting. They start listing all these people. And what they do, my view of them, is that it's kind of like when you're fast forwarding a video. You know, you're watching a video and you want to get through some material, so you fast forward. How much content do you gather as you're fast forwarding the video? Not very much. You're fast forwarding through all these, what we're seeing going by, like actually going by busy cities in a train. What you see that there's plenty of people that were born and lived and died and then you start slowing down. And we've had Cain and Abel. We had the fall of Adam and Eve, the fall of Cain and Abel into sin. And then we have the fast forwarding. And we find that the whole world is corrupt. The world has grown. There's a large population. We don't know how many. And God's having trouble finding a godly family, and he decides that he's going to wipe out the world as it is at that place. And he's going to do it with a flood. Before the flood, the world, that problem of sin has spread and has become horrible. So he loads these 8 people onto the boat, and the flood comes, and they get off the boat, and the ground is still wet when it's clear that the sin principle has not been taken care of. And so there's another fast forward. With this. And what we find is that these people are building a big tower because they think, hey, you know, who needs God? We're building this big tower, and we are great, and the sin problem of human beings rebelling against their Creator is still in process. And you know, while they're building the tower, they have a wee bit of a communications problem. As the foreman calls down to some of the men, "What to? Could you hop up?" And they say, "What? And others say, "No, and that ruins the business construction because they're going to show God how much what they can do." And then they fast forward again. This is Genesis 1 to 11. What does it tell us? Well, some wonderful things. That God created the world. That He created Adam and Eve as a special creation different than every other life form. But that human beings, given the opportunity to make decisions, choose to go their way rather than God's way. And so whether it's Adam and Eve, whether it's Cain and Abel, whether it's the days of Moses, they had the 8 best people I think they could find on the ark, and they were into sin almost immediately. And then the growing population in the days of Babel. Now, there's certainly a lot of history that's passed over here. But the Bible's making a point that human beings created in the image of God, the highest of God's creation, have this terrible problem of sin. This is the introduction, the prologue, the preface, the preface, the prologue, the word that comes before, setting the stage. The greatness of God the Creator, Adam and Eve as a special creation, and then everything else pretty well in this whole scenario is negative. And you've been on the superhighway. You've been zipping along, watching this going by, with occasionally slowing down to see Cain and Abel and the flood and the Tower of Babel. All of a sudden you slow down and you get off the superhighway and you are in the back roads out past Newbury somewhere. And you're not going 80 miles an hour anymore, you're going 20 miles an hour around little sharp curves and through little towns. And everything slows down. And we have a man. And his name is Abram. Later, Abraham. Sorry, I'm not much of an artist. You probably gathered that. Actually, I say to myself, well, if I were a great artist, they'd be paying attention to my artwork instead of the story. There's this man, Abraham. And God speaks to him and says, Abraham, I want you to leave your town, your hometown, I want you to leave your people, and go to a place that I will show you. He doesn't know where he's going. God's going to show him. And he takes off.